Hi, welcome to the Men's Forum. I'm your host, Gary Costanza, and tonight we're going to have a discussion about men and family court. Here with me tonight, and we have a distinguished panel of guests. First, I want to introduce John McGrath, my co-host.
Hey, Gary. Pleasure.
How you doing, buddy? And we have Rich, a non-custodial parent who's fighting for custody of his 4-year-old daughter, I believe.
That's correct.
Okay. And we also have the co-president of the Children's Rights Council of New York City, Elizabeth Schnee.
Hello.
Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Actually, we met for the first time, Elizabeth and I and John, actually. We went to a Candlelight Vigil in New York City to commemorate Equal Parents Week. That was September, I believe, 25th, 2003. And it was a nice showing. It was very enlightening. Actually, we have a short clip of that, and we are momentarily going to bring that to you. What did you think of that Candlelight Vigil?
That was interesting, and Elizabeth had informed us that they do this every year.
Right, it's an international event held annually, and people participate all over the country and all over the world. And then the idea is that both parents are needed in a child's life. That's the bottom line.
Right, and the candles were symbols of that.
Of the love and the hope and the grief and all those things that you feel when you lose daily contact with your child.
Right, and I believe they added a candle, Justice. Was that the 5th candle?
Right.
Candle of Justice. So.
That's what we're fighting for, right?
Yeah, and that's what we did. And that was interesting. We had it at Central Park in New York City.
Yep.
Is where it was. And that was one of our local road trips that we did. We've covered a lot of ground in the past, Gary and I. But,
so yeah, we hope to make more of those. But
it was interesting, and hopefully, we'd like to see more and more people turn out and support causes such as this, for instance.
It is so important. Correct. All right, so let's get to that clip. It's a short clip, but it's sort of moving. So here it is.
I'd like to read the points that they have given us about the 5 candles. As we light these 5 candles in honor of our families and our children, we light one for our grief, one for our courage, one for our memories, one for our love. Our ceremony includes the addition of a 5th candle, a candle for justice. This first candle represents our grief. The pain of not having our children in our lives is intense. It reminds us constantly of the depth of our love for our children. The second candle represents our courage to confront our sorrow, to comfort each other, and to know that our children are in our hearts always. The third candle we light in memory of our children. For all the times we think about our children, the times we have had or would like to have had with our children, knowing that you, our children, will be with us in our memories always. The fourth candle represents the light of love. As we start each day by day, we cherish a special place in our hearts that will always be reserved for our children. The fifth candle represents justice. We are parents, brothers, sisters, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and step-families, and loved ones. We raise our voices to send a message from our hearts of what we feel in our souls, that we cherish our families more than anything. Our families are our inspiration. Our heritage is the right of all families to exist and function as a family, and the right to protection from the hardship of unaffordable financial support orders and penalties which are unjustly imposed. Our vision advocates for the right to share the responsibility for meeting all of our children's needs equally and within our means, and the right of all family members to maintain their family bonds must be recognized and protected as civil and human rights. We ask tonight that this inspiration, heritage, and a vision of justice be embraced by society, our lawmakers, and our legal system to create a true justice system. A system that will provide guidance, protection, and refuge to all family members in crisis. A system that will apply a standard of problem-solving and reasonable notice. A system that will maintain a constant vigilance to seek the truth and administer orders that will protect civil rights and build the lives of all family members.
Hi, welcome back. Elizabeth, good job, good job.
Thank you.
That was really enlightening Vigil, Candlelight Vigil. Very
It
good.
was pretty moving. I mean, that's, if that doesn't pull on your heartstrings, that whole experience, I don't know what does. But these things are, like I said, they're great that these people do these kind of things in support of, people who are going through this process.
And it's not just a handful of people, men and women, millions of men in particular.
Now, this is a national event. You said that these groups at the same time, on the same day across the country, light the candles at the same time. So this is a nationwide event.
And it's international as well.
I did check that website. That was great. They even encourage you, if you can't make it to any of these vigils, to light a candle in your own home.
Right, show support. That's what we're talking about. When it comes to any way you can contribute to the cause, whether physically come down and show up, or just go out and cast a vote once a year or once every 4 years in your local elections, whatever it may be. You have to get active, get proactive, and show support in any way you can.
Okay, let's get back to tonight's subject, men in family court. Do men get treated fairly in family court? John, what do you think?
From what I hear, it's a horror story in the family court, and it doesn't sound like men are being treated fairly. Me personally, I had a brief stint in the family court system, and I wasn't there long enough in the family court to suffer anything as far as inequities. But some other people, from what I understand, are not so fortunate. Rich, I believe you're in the family court system now, right?
I've been in the family court system for a few years now, actually.
Okay, yeah. And what's going on, basically, in there?
Well, unfortunately, every time I do go to court, it gets postponed, or it's something that is insignificant that gets decided upon. Most of my experiences are outside the family court right now.
Well, it gets decided on in whose favor? Your wife's favor?
Actually, I've been fortunate because things seem to go my way when it's in court itself. My horror stories are, as I was saying earlier, it's outside the court. It's dealing with the everyday hustle of accusations and the police and trying to...
Are they bringing orders of protection against you?
No, I've been fortunate. I don't have any orders of protection.
Okay, not yet. Well, you can almost bet your bottom dollar that they're on the way. They're en route if you've been going through all these other things, because that seems to be the #1 tool or mechanism of choice in the court system, is the orders of protection, and they get handed out like candy, like candy at Halloween.
Elizabeth, what's your experience with what are they called?
Temporary orders of protection. And these are things that are given out. A woman can, for example, if she wants to get rid of her husband, doesn't like him anymore, she can throw herself down the stairs, and then she can go into the police station and say, I've been abused by my husband. God. And then she can get him arrested, get the temporary order of protection served. When he comes home, he's arrested. And too many of our members come into the meetings and they think that because they didn't do anything, there won't be any consequences.
Without even alluding to any truth,
there
just an accusation,
right?
They're handing these orders out.
Right. It can be done to a man or a woman. Usually it's done to men, and they don't get to go before a judge. There doesn't have to be any proof. And originally this was designed to protect battered women. There was a need for it, but now it's being abused by people who know that they can manipulate the system through this procedure.
It's becoming more or less common, or not uncommon, in the courts. Being used as a weapon, as you say.
Right. And then whoever gets this temporary order of protection against them and gets thrown in jail is immediately at a disadvantage. They're already out of the household, and if there's a custody dispute, it plays right into the hands of whoever stays in that house.
That's a good point, because from my own experience and from the people that I've communicated with and the investigative work that I've done myself, just to bring you all up to speed, Gary knows firsthand that I meet personally with legislators, congressmen, senators, local candidates. This election that just passed by, I was very active with some of the candidates that even ran for office. And the general consensus, and I also meet with, believe it or not, I talk with the people who enforce the laws, the local police departments. And I sit on the side of the road many a times and sat with police officers on their lunch breaks and gotten their own opinions on things. And I found a lot of disturbing things in relation to these orders of protection. It's how they're policed and how these things are handed out that needs to be changed, and the legislation needs to be passed, the laws need to be amended in order to change the way they police these orders of protection, because once they're handed out, just as you said, Elizabeth, you're taken out of your home, you're removed from your house. So now if there's children involved and you have a custody battle, now you can't see them. You have no parental rights. So you've been taken from your property, you've been taken from your children, okay? And you're guilty until proven innocent, because an order of protection is designed to protect the victim, the potential victim, and this is what the court's position is. This is why this becomes so deadly, in the effect that it's destroying the family unity. Any source of communication within that family unit, the father, the children, the mother, the father, the children, is all disrupted by this. And it's a shame that your rights are being just taken away from you, because the system, the court's position is, we have to protect the potential victim. Not that you did anything wrong, and this is where the problem lies, and this is where I have a personal problem, because police are supposed to go to a crime scene and make an assessment.
Exactly.
Okay? In other words, you watch a lot of TV, so it's just like, TV is a little fabricated, but there's a lot of truth that they base their works on.
It's not black and white. In other words, when we do see those shows, yes, you see all the nuances.
Right.
Are they hitting each other?
Right. I mean, don't touch the evidence. The first thing
Or is there no evidence?
Don't disturb the crime scene. The police officer will go there and he'll assess the situation, okay? It's quite obvious. I mean, you can tell. And clearly, they have training in these areas where they can basically look right through somebody's lying, okay, and determine whether or not somebody was manhandled at a scene, whether it be a woman or a man, okay? There's signs of physical abuse. And no evidence is required. The rule now out here on Long Island, and I'm sure it may be the same in New York City, but in Nassau and Suffolk County, if a policeman is called, an arrest is made. That's the law. It doesn't matter if there are signs or there is evidence visible or not. If the police are called, there is an arrest made. And this is wrong, and this is legislation that I'm pushing for now in our local community to try to get laws amended to change the way they handle orders of protection.
I'd like to add another aspect to that, which is that if I had heard this originally, I wouldn't have believed it, because this is America. These things don't happen in America. I mean, we believe that people get treated fairly under the law. That's the bed the pillow that we put our heads down on at night. We believe it. And when people hear this, they say, no, that can't be happening. There must be some extenuating circumstances. And I wouldn't have believed that it happens, except that it happened to me. And members come in to our monthly meeting, and you hear these stories that are just unbelievable, but it really does go on.
We hear those stories also. Naively, men come in and say, well, everything will be taken care of.
Right.
This is all a mistake.
Well, that's an assumption right there in itself.
On the flip side, though, I'll tell you a little story that happened to me. One day I went to pick up my daughter, and this is actually over this past summer. And what happened was that I just got out of court, and I won a small little victory. And my daughter's mother was all upset. Judge told her to shut up. She doesn't want to hear it. So what does she do? She convinces her brother to physically beat me up. Now, I had witnesses, because I always go with somebody. This is the first time I went without the police. Every time I pick up my daughter or drop her off, I bring a police escort. I was told, you don't need one, you don't need one, you don't need one. This is the first time I didn't bring one. He physically beat me up. We called the police. We had 6 cop cars there. They arrested him. Actually, they told me I had to arrest him. They only charged him with a misdemeanor, basically harassment. And I was actually assaulted. He wasn't getting charged with assault because I didn't have any bruises. I didn't have any cuts on me. Nothing. But meanwhile, he hit me several times in the head and in the stomach.
That's another good point, okay?
But
Just like you said,
the story gets better.
Well, I just wanted to, I don't want to cut you off, I just want to interject right there. That's a very good point, and this is why legislation needs to be changed in regards to these orders. That's a misdemeanor at that point right there, but you know what? If you went home and your wife called the cop on you at your house, it's now a criminal offense, okay? It's a whole new ballgame. And in that light, under that text of the law, okay, that's where you're stripped of all your rights from that point on forward. okay? So it's, they have to knock that down a couple of notches, okay? And police that thing a little bit better. They have to police it a little bit differently.
Right.
Okay, because now it's a whole different.
Well, because it's labeled domestic violence.
Right.
And we went to a domestic violence rally, and there are all these different terms that they use. To me, domestic violence could be anything within the family, but these other groups, or maybe law enforcement, have different
Well, according to law.
definitions.
And the law is very vague on certain things, but.
Isn't assault?
That's what I was fighting, but I went to court, got order of protection. I was only charged with harassment. The final outcome was he was allowed to move to Florida and get 6 months probation. Meanwhile, my daughter, at that point, was staying in the same household as him. And I wanted her to have order of protection too, because, God forbid, he loses his temper and stroke against my daughter. They didn't want to deal with it. They did not want to deal with anything like that.
Elizabeth, why are these temporary orders of protection given out? It seems to me there's no deterrent. In other words, there's nothing to lose by doing this.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, there isn't.
Is there a punishment at all?
Well, if we look at the consequence of perjury as it relates to one of our former presidents, we can say that perjury is something that happens all the time. And a large percentage of these are thrown out as being baseless once they're actually heard. But in the meantime, the person's life has been destroyed.
Exactly. Rarely enforced, and even if it is prosecuted, it's mostly a minor offense.
I just want to add that there is a legitimate need for temporary orders of protection.
Certainly.
But it's often those people who don't go to get them. And even if they do get them, they're often not really protected against the perpetrator.
I understand what you mean, because truly abused people don't have the wherewithal, possibly, to go ahead and get that.
Right.
And having so many people falsely accusing other people, it's sort of like crying wolf, the boy crying wolf.
Well, yeah, like I said, this is just a mechanism to gain an advantage in the courtroom in the event of a custody battle, because children are involved. That one spouse wants to gain control of the children, and again, this alludes back to the issue of shared parenting, where there's a bounty on a children's head, and it's something that makes this all worth it. Okay, it's the money sign that's attached to the children's heads that they think there's a false rainbow that they think they're going to accomplish and arrive at by doing this.
Well, of course, the Holy Grail is sole custody. That's the primitive laws that we have in New York State, giving it's all or nothing. So that's where this comes about.
Well, that's the thing. The way it's structured now, whoever gets custody gets to stay in the home, gets child support, which is non-taxed to the recipient, and rather than really looking out for what the children need, which is two active parents involved in their lives, the kids get stripped of the daily contact with one of their parents. And if you talk about the 90% of the men who lose custody or the 10% of the women, what you're really looking at is 100% of those children losing that meaningful contact with their own parents.
You put it so well, exactly.
That's right, but unfortunately, our court system, okay, who claims to be acting in what's in the best interest of the children, okay, and really aren't, because all they care about doing is what's politically correct, okay, from their political standpoint, okay. And
let's get on to what's really the most important: the effects on children. I see that it poisons the relationship with the father, because the children don't know what to make of it.
Right. Well, that's why I personally went to seek out the Children's Rights Council, because I was thinking, here I am fighting this battle the whole time for myself. I'm thinking about myself and my human rights, my civil rights, my personal rights. What rights do I have in regards to the law and how these things are set up? But then I said, wait a second, there's something more important here. Forget me. You know what I mean? I'm a big boy. I can take the beating and pushing around by the court system as much as they want to. But what I'm thinking is, when do my children have a voice? Who stands up and protects them? Okay, who takes the lead?
Who does?
Well, that's the question. That's the big question. And I want you to think about this. If your children probably go to school, if any one of the staff in that school ever denigrated you as a parent, they would be out of there in no time. And yet what ends up happening is that one parent can denigrate the other to the children. And it's tremendously destructive, which we recognize as a culture, yet it happens regularly. And it's very effective in terms of the whole custody dispute. If you can denigrate the other parent enough, you can turn the child away from the parent. And what happens to the child is that they lose that parent as an authority figure. And it's almost like being able to tell your parents anything you want. You have power over them. I mean, my daughter at one point said, "I'm not going to listen to you. You're the non-custodial parent."
Wow.
Oh, yeah, the new phrase is, "Oh, you're not the boss of me." Yeah.
And it's tremendously damaging because the kids lose, whether you like the parent, whether you think they're a good parent or not, they're the child's parent. That's 50% of their origin. And when 50% of your origin is disparaged, that says something about you.
That's disparaging half of you, half of the
That's
child.
right. That's right. And children need structure in their lives,
And
okay? And the only way to get that is from a relationship and interaction with both of their parents, okay? Kids need to, and, you know, I'll tell you right now, my personal opinion is, and it's not just my opinion, I mean, there's been psychological studies done for centuries all over the country on this simple fact that children excel when they have both parents in their lives. They need both parents to interact in their lives. There's no father on the planet that can replace a child's mother, okay? And there is no mother, as much as they think that they can, because they're trying to wade through this political mess and get their holy grail, as you call it, that they think they're strong enough to, you know, deter the other parent and act like the mother and the father to that child, okay? It's not going to happen. In their mind, they think they can do it, but you know what? The time has, the test have proven, it can't be done.
At best, they
It
can
can't be
only
done.
be half of the picture.
That's
At
right.
best.
It can't be done.
And the
Somewhere along the line, they fail. They fail. And unfortunately, it's what happens at that point when they fail, because the damage is usually done. It's too late by that point, and then the children have presented the parent or the parent with a whole new world of problems.
How about this? What happens to these fathers when they lose day-to-day contact with their children or total contact with their children? What happens to these fathers?
I just want to speak to the dehumanization that happens. It's incredibly dehumanizing to not be regarded as your child's parent. And it's probably the most destructive thing that a person can go through. And it's particularly hard to take when it's on the basis of something that's not just. It's just totally dehumanizing. There's no other word to describe it. And I've been through it. And I wouldn't have believed that anyone would allow this to happen, but it happens.
Yeah, that's a good point. And, you know, there have been, I've heard things, and with the groups that I support and belong to, fathers are, for the most part, fathers, I mean, that we're in contact with, because we're the majority of the parents who are being alienated. Fathers are suffering great deals of emotional stress. They're committing suicide by the numbers all over the country. You know, to be disenfranchised from your children's life, to be, like you said, ridiculed by the system, and having your purpose in life and being taken from you.
In more than one way. I know we discussed it at the Vigil Day, the loss of identity. You're not only losing your identity as a father or as a husband, but as a father.
As a father and as a person.
So all of a sudden you're alone. You don't have a purpose, as you said.
And yet it's still there. Your children are still there, but you can't get to them. You can't express your love to them.
You have a purpose, but you're not allowed to fulfill it.
Yeah.
Right. You're being kept, and the orders of protection. The order of protection is what's keeping you away from your children, your family, your life, and your rights. And we need to get on the ball and get the legislation changed on how they hand these things out in the courts and how they police them. And it's a tireless effort, and I'm a part of it. I'm a big part of it.
Well, there should be corroboration.
Right.
Some sort of evidence.
That's right. Well, again, you have to have some sort of...
So that slippery slope doesn't start
You have
with
to have
a
some
simple
sort
phone call.
There's got to be a necessity issue here. Again, I talk with police officers all the time, and they agree with me. They agree that there's got to be a necessity present when they go to a crime scene, okay? They're public servants, and you know what? If they're wasting their time on frivolous complaints at houses. Now, the police officers in my district, okay, had told me that every patrol car on patrol answers at least one domestic violence complaint every day, every shift, 7 days a week. How many patrol cars are there? There's hundreds a day, okay? Now, you want to know why your case is getting postponed and not getting results fast enough, that you can't get in front of a judge fast enough in the family courts? Because they're so backed up, because there's thousands of these. And you know what? Now it becomes like an assembly line, okay? Now it's just, they don't want to hear the facts, they don't want to hear it, they know there's lies, there's this and that, but now it becomes such a routine for them. That's their daily ritual, okay? To bring you in this door, spank you on the wrist, and send you out that door, okay? We need to get a little bit more personal in how they are interacting with people, because these people have lives. The people that come into these courtrooms have lives, and they're doing damage to these people's family structure.
Well, we're coming to the end of the show. I'd like to give each of you a chance to wrap up. Elizabeth, any final words?
Well, I'm hoping that the law will change in New York State so that all parents will have a right to be their child's parent, and that all children will have a right to their parents' presence and participation and love.
And I understand you're going to a conference. Is that tomorrow?
There's a conference in Albany. I'm sorry, not in Albany, in Washington, a national conference affecting good, positive outcomes for children.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Rich?
Basically, I just want to say that I think that more fathers should take active parts in their children's lives, because you never know when you won't be able to again.
Very good. Thank you, Rich. John?
Gary, I mean, you know, we've been together through a lot of stuff together. And we've bad witness to a lot of the social issues that are going on, as far as the family courts and the problems. And you know, we've been inside courtrooms, we've been inside legislators' offices, we've been up to state capitals, and we've been in our neighbors' houses. Okay, so we know both sides of the coin, what's going on and what needs to be done. And I can't stress enough that you need to be active, proactive, support these causes, support these people who are fighting for your rights, who are putting forth the effort, and it's tireless. It's 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You got to get out once in a while, and you know what? September 25th next year, let's come down to Central Park.
Exactly.
Let's come on down to Central Park and light a candle. And even if you've accomplished your case and have made progress in your case, come on down and help and
others.
stand up for the
Exactly.
people who are going through what you went through. You know why? Because they need your support.
Because as we all know, I mean, we're oblivious to it until it hits us or hits someone close to us, and we say, we can't believe this could happen.
Right now.
So let's prevent it. Okay? All right. Thank you from all of us at the Men's Forum, and good night.